Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint by Sing Shong. Chapter 365. Archangel Hunting. Part 1. It's no fun when no one is fighting back. Michael stared at the corpses strewn about the field while smoking a rolled tobacco. Ash-gray smoke mushroomed up in the air. This cigarette was manufactured by the second generation of craftsmen. The reason why Michael enjoyed hunting demons or going on a business trip was because he got to smoke the cigarettes he liked so much, to his heart's content. In Eden, smoking was an evil, a sin. Michael smoked through several cigarettes in a row, and as he fell into a chain of thought, stubbed it out by rubbing it against the exposed flesh of a dead corpse. Have I taken too long? What do you mean, too long? It's only just begun. Michael heard the voice reverberating within his head and frowned deeply. Shut up. Hurry, wake me up. Unshackle me already. Michael pulled out a new cigarette. He had been hearing this particular fable's voice for a long time. And whenever he did, Michael simply had to burn through more cigarettes, one after the other. Now isn't the time. Michael took another long drag of the rising smoke. Nebula Eden has issued a new revelation. Archangel hunting, is it? It does sound rather interesting. Asmodeus grinned brightly to reveal 2 rows of pearly white teeth after hearing my offer. It's not just any other archangel, but the savior of the corrupted, too. Are you being serious about this? Of course. However, aren't you in a friendly relationship with Eden? If you do something like this, won't you end up as their enemy? Doesn't matter. I'm a demon king, after all. Even if I didn't mean it, I still had to say it out loud. Because I'm trying to convince none other than Asmodeus here. And the demon king itself seemed to be seriously agonizing over my suggestion at the moment. Do give it careful consideration. You need the syllable, gru, right? On top of that, you'll be able to earn a fable concerning an archangel, too. The one who hunted down a great archangel. Doesn't the thought alone excite you? Unfortunately, Asmodeus wasn't to be swayed that easily. No, rather than that, it was shooting me approving gaze as if to ascertain what my true intentions were. I decided to throw an even bigger bait at this juncture. Well, that's disappointing. As a member of the Gourmet Association, I figured that you'd be different from other constellations. Asmodeus's long, slender brows quivered noticeably after hearing my words. Your understanding of the Demon King, Asmodeus, has increased by a great deal. Your understanding of the applicable individual is quite high. Second stage of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint has activated. Now that's the first time I heard such a message. Finally, the skill level of the Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint had risen up high enough to let me take a peek at the inside of selected constellations. And right afterwards, I could hear Asmodeus's inner thoughts. He's utterly, hatefully arrogant, this demon king of salvation. Its inside was like a thick, sticky swamp. Listening to the private thoughts of a being looking back at me with a pair of quietly withdrawn eyes was making me feel rather uncomfortable. Its thoughts continued on. A trap that I want to fall into this badly, is it? As expected, it wasn't for nothing that Asmodeus had climbed up to the position of the candidate for the future great demon king. It had already figured out that my offer was a trap. It's likely that the target of the demon king of salvation is the savior of the corrupted. And he wants to use me and other constellations to hunt down Michael and steal the modifier necklace afterwards. It's commendable that he's using his brain so much, but well, it's a bit irritating to pretend that I fell for his schemes, isn't it? Asmodeus's expression gradually changed into an icy one. Unsurprisingly, it seemed that this much convincing wasn't going to be enough. Michael is a difficult angel to fight against, even when he's being restrained by the probability of the second generation. Asmodeus's conflicting thoughts were gradually finding their heading now. A faint killing intent seemed to ooze out from its long nails. I could sense Anna Croft next to me tense up and get into her battle mode. Maybe she used the precognition and saw something that was about to happen. However, I wasn't worried in the slightest. Because it was about time that a situation even her, precognition, couldn't have predicted began, that was why. Like clockwork, Asmodeus's expression became rather weird. The demon's briefly hardened expression shifted into one filled with complicated emotions. Its eyes danced around as if it was reading something in the empty air. And so, how much time passed by like this? Countless emotions flitted in and out of Asmodeus's eyes before they finally landed back on me. Foo. Well, this is. It's so hard to figure out the will of the star stream sometimes, you know. What do you mean by that? I was just talking to myself. Very well. I accept your offer. Let's try out this archangel hunting thing, then. Asmodeus's announcement caused Anna Croft's eyes to go completely round in shock. She then formed a puzzled expression next. Completely disregarding her, the Demon King smacked its lips and concentrated on sending a message to someone somewhere. It was probably busy communicating with other seekers of the end right about now. And at the same time, a message from a certain someone entered my head. Did I do well? You did. Thank you, sang SSI. The reason why Asmodeus changed its mind? It probably read a certain revelation just now. More specifically, the fake revelation you Sangha and I had cooked up and spread around, that was. It said, the corrupted archangel will die by the sword of a swordmaster on the island of the aged forgotten people. Another revelation was made? The bureau was also turned upside down by the news of a new revelation. The first place to be affected by this was the sales department. Sir, we have a sudden spike in the sale of the swordmaster-related skills. Replenish their stock immediately. Call the related subcontractors and tell them to speed up the output of the mass production type stigma. But, even then, our stock is running low, sir. D***it. Where did all the fable manufacturers disappear to? Ah? Who was it again? Right, if we request the mass production type maker, then. In the meantime, Bai Hyung was quietly observing the developing situation from within this crucible of confusion and chaos. The great Dakibi Baram addressed him from the side. Bai Hyung, you should start a new scenario. I've already done so, sir. A new message was floating up on the scenario observation screen that flickered into life just then. Sub-scenario, Archangel Hunting, has commenced. Soon, the sight of the constellations hiding within the forest and the planes rushing somewhere en masse showed up on screen. They had all purchased Swordmaster-related fables from the Dakibi bag just now. Will it be fine to open a scenario like this one, sir? Surely, Eden would strongly oppose this. We have already obtained the scribe's consent. He said that it doesn't really matter. We've already compensated them, so there's no need to hold back. To think, he'd allow one of his angels to be used as the subject of a scenario. That doesn't sound like what the leader of the absolute good would do. That's how the absolute good operates. For the sake of the greater good, they would trample on smaller good every now and then. I'm aware of that, sir. But lately, it's becoming harder for me to understand them. Regarding? Just what are Eden and the demon world thinking? Them agreeing to go ahead with the great war of saints and demons scenario, and wouldn't they all perish together if they do this? Baram stared at Bai Hyung with unreadable eyes, before forming a smirk. There is a saying about how short life is, but art would go on forever. That's a saying from Earth, isn't it, sir? Correct. Those are words that exalt the story's eternal nature. But, you should be aware of this, such a notion is false. Even the greatest fable will die sooner or later. It's just that, compared to the length of a fable's lifespan, a human's life is simply far too short, that is all. Baram's voice seemed to contain the regrets of an innumerable length of time. Indeed, those words belonged to a Dakibi that had continuously told the tales of constellations for a truly long time. Did you know? Once upon a time, stories with no distinction between good and evil didn't exist within Starstream. Yes, I know. But, what about now? Screams from the constellations killed by Michael's blade could be heard coming from the screen. And there were other constellations silently peeping at this battle. These constellations were sponsoring someone else, they were busy swearing at others, or were fully enjoying the show. Coins exchanged hands, and cries of pleasure and despair continued to resound out. And within this spectacle, not one person seemed to care about either good or evil. Ah! As he spat out that short gasp, Baihyung finally understood the great Dakibi's wisdom. Baram addressed his junior once more. This is a war to stop them from disappearing. For the next 2 days, Anna Croft and I prepared for the hunt. Asmodeus didn't act with us, though. Let us meet again on the hunting ground at midday, 2 days from now. It left those words behind and disappeared on us. I was pretty sure that the Demon King was getting ready to hunt down an angel in its own way. There were around 30 minutes left until midday. The promised location for our archangel hunting was the fertile forest located on the north of the island. Just before we reached our destination, Anna Croft threw me a question. Do you really think we can pull this off? You're going to help me out, aren't you? Even if it's me, I can't predict the future all the time. You already know this better than anyone. It's fine to read the nearest future for the time being. What I needed to avoid were the unseen variables that might happen in the near future. And Anna Croft's precognition was the most suitable skill for avoiding such things. What will you do if I decide to betray you? If my target is you, then, I know that's not the case. From the get-go, I couldn't have been her target. Why? Because she was inserted into the scenario way before me. She narrowed her eyes to a slit and asked me again. By the way, since when did you stop using polite speech to address me? Oh, now that I think about it, you're right. Should I address you with polite speech again, ma'am? You're being a jerk right now, so please, just stop. Ah, right. How many times can you use precognition today, young miss? Anna Croft glared at me with a dumbfounded expression before making her reply. 3 times. Don't use them unnecessarily, and activate them only after I give you the signal. Why should I listen to? You should listen, so we can finish this *TTY scenario for good. From afar, we could hear the screams of the constellations and incarnations. The hunting had begun already. Along with the horrifying explosions, the oppressive voice of the aloof, proud archangel rocked the entire forest. You dare to use me as the subject matter for a scenario? Anna Croft and I hid in the nearby bushes and observed the battleground. We couldn't spot Asmodeus anywhere yet. Instead of him, though, almost all the participants still remaining on Middle Island number 3 had gathered here in the fertile forest. Most of them just so happened to be evil or neutral type constellations. There were many historical figure grade constellations, and I even spotted a lower-ranked Demon King, too. It was Darkness of No Value Belial, from the 68th Demon World. He must have shown up here after heeding Asmodeus's call. Not just him, but other constellations were each carrying a longsword of the 2nd generation at the moment. Attack him! Michael watched the constellations rushing towards him with Belial in the lead and fumed in pure rage. A measly little lower-ranked Demon King dares to. You all must have gone mad as a group. The Archangel used a stupendously powerful wind pressure to blow Belial away, and activated his status to generate a barrier of winds. However, there were some who managed to break past the barrier to still take shots at him. Constellation, Hardwork Specialist, has activated the skill, Mass-Produced Physical Sword Aura. The exact same skill was activated simultaneously from the longswords held by the participants. Waves of yellow, or even blue, colored sword auras physically manifesting themselves sliced past Michael's status and advanced forward. The Archangel formed a mocking grin. Ether Blade? What a crazy bunch of fools. The revelation I leaked to the world through you Senga was fake. Without a doubt, no swordmaster out there would be capable of killing Archangel Michael. However, just because it was a fake revelation, that didn't mean it was complete rubbish, with no odds of coming true either. CHCHCHCH chit. Probability of the second generation has granted a powerful buff effect on the applicable skills. The physical sword aura was currently being ridiculed as an exclusive skill of the Transcenders. However, there was a period of time in the past when the second generation viewed it as the greatest skill ever. It's working. Keep cutting him down. Cheek. Michael's wind barrier began melting away gradually from the continual baptism of the sword auras. He got flustered and tried to activate a new fable, but then, a jet-black light of ether suddenly sliced down from the air. Sleeus. Like magic, space separated, as if it had been sliced away in its entirety. Only the lengthy claw mark left behind by a demon king was visible from the gaps of the crumbling barrier. I always wondered whether an archangel without wings can fly or not. Michael's torn wing moved with great difficulty in the air. Through the falling feathers, Asmodeus's smiling mug revealed itself to the world. And I finally got my answer today. The wing's existence is not related to the archangel's ability to fly. Asmodeus. Taken over by his rage, Michael poured out his magical energy towards the demon. Unfortunately, he couldn't aim at his target properly after his balance was affected due to the damage to his incarnation body. He began wasting his energy, instead. On the other hand, Asmodeus used other constellations to diligently pile on further injuries to Michael. As expected of Asmodeus, I couldn't help but marvel at this battle. We should get going. That demon king might end up snatching away our myth-grade fable at this rate. No, it's not the time yet, ma'am. My relaxed voice caused a flustered expression to form on Anna Croft's face. As long as she didn't use up her precognition allowance for today, she'd never have guessed what was about to transpire soon. Fable, Evil That Destroys Evil, has begun its storytelling. Pitch-black aura suddenly began gathering around Michael's figure and enveloped him like some kind of a bud. It was hard to believe that such corrupted energy actually belonged to an archangel. And the good has chosen to walk the path of evil in order to destroy other evil. Constellations realized that something ominous was about to happen, and they continued to pour out their barrage of powerful attacks, but too bad, they failed to scratch that black bud even once. Instead, it seemed to suck in nutrients by absorbing the power of the surroundings, and slowly began blooming itself. Archangel Michael has become corrupted. While witnessing this overwhelming spectacle, I recalled a certain part of Ways of Survival in my head. Not every constellation of this world was divided into constellations and demon kings. There is just one creature, an existence that could use the powers of a constellation as well as a demon king at the same time. The sole being within the lengthy history of Eden who ate the star relic fruit. No demon shall survive upon witnessing his true appearance. Coo-goo-goo-goo. Oh, my God, whispered Anna Croft. Something was waking up from within the pitch-black darkness. First, a black pair of wings. And then, the horns signifying a demon king. Demon King, King of Corrupted Angels, is scanning the battlefield. The so-called King of Corrupted Angels, that was Archangel Michael's modifier after he transformed into a demon king. Kua-dash. With a simple flick of its hand, all constellations leaning towards evil were swept away clean. Even if they were seemingly on the same evil side now, the difference in their classes was simply on another realm altogether. This was the true power of Michael, an archangel on the level of a myth grade. Even Asmodeus was forming a hardened expression now. This wasn't in the revelation. Soon after, Michael's status rained down, and several demon kings were flung away helplessly. The body of Asmodeus's incarnation must have received a tremendous amount of damage, because it too began faltering about. That was when I stood up from my spot. It's time. You want to join the battle now? Yes. Didn't you see what happened just now? Even if your target is that archangel, this is. What made you think that my target is the archangel? After hearing my question, Anna Croft could only blink her eyes in sheer dumbfoundedness. Her eye of the great demon began burning up in a reddish hue. See, can it be? We could see Asmodeus's body being flung away like a puppet with its strings cut in the distance. From the get-go, I wasn't planning to face off against the corrupted archangel. And besides, he wasn't the only one possessing a myth-grade fable. Your target modifier is Devil of Lust and Wrath. TL, Devil of Lust and Fury, Devil of Lust and Wrath. I unsheathed my sword as the message popped up in the air and spoke to her. Well, let's go and get ourselves a myth-grade fable, shall we? Chapter 366. Archangel Hunting. Part 2. Anna Croft and I moved towards the battlefield right away. Completely lost to madness now, Michael was ripping apart every single constellation and incarnation near him to bloody shreds. The evil born only to destroy evil. After transforming into a corrupted angel, just Michael's combat prowess alone would not lose out to that of Poseidon or Hades. Quite a few constellations are paying more attention to the situation unfolding on the middle island number 3. Constellation, demon-like Judge of Flames, is looking at you with worried eyes. Those constellations who had either already made their way into the main island, or hadn't participated in the Great War of Saints and Demons, began shifting their gazes in this direction now. After we reached the edge of Michael's firing range, Anna Croft spoke to me. Getting any closer than this will be dangerous. My covert operations skill can only. I reached out and grasped her wrist. Fable, Pebble, and I has begun its storytelling. Fable, Pebble, and I is puzzled by the existence of Anna Croft. Take care of this woman, as well. Fable, Pebble, and I is looking at you with a slightly dissatisfied expression. Fable, Pebble, and I has assimilated Anna Croft into its effect. With that, we bravely ran through the battlefield. Michael and the other constellations didn't sense our presence at all. Most likely, we looked like a pair of pebbles rolling around on the ground or some such. Anna Croft asked me with a shocked voice. What is up with this fable? It's a fable for turning into a pebble. Since we didn't have time, I replied to her like that. Corpses of constellations littered the pathways of the battlefield. Every now and then, we spotted still-breathing ones, too. Such as the Demon King from the 68th Demon World, Darkness of No Value, Belial. After suffering from Michael's attacks, he was barely holding on as fables continued to leak out from his body. Wait, now that I thought about it, this dude was also aiming for me, wasn't he? Stab. I also calmly sunk my unbreakable faith in his body next. You have eliminated the 68th Demon World's Demon King. Applicable Demon King is of a lower ranking than you are, and there is no change to the ranking. You have acquired the modifier necklace, Darkness of No Value. You have murdered a 5th Demon King incarnation body. Possibility of a new attribute is opening up to you. But, aren't you a Demon King yourself? Can you actually kill them like that? Well, I'll just give up being a Demon King, then. Anna Croft heard my perfectly composed glib reply and formed a dumbfounded expression. Goo-goo-goo-goo-goo. We heard the noises of Michael's status flooding out right behind us. If the probability of the second generation was slightly weaker, the entire forest would have been blown away by that power already. We don't have much time left, so let's hurry. Asmodeus should be in a state similar to this guy. The forest's path near our position was decorated by the fallen fragments of a Demon King's fables. These traces belonged to a much higher-ranked Demon King, one that couldn't be compared to Belial. You didn't have to be a genius to figure out who they belonged to. We brushed past the bushes for a bit until finally discovering a figure of a person leaning against the foot of a tall, ancient tree. So, you did show up. As if it knew that I'd show up, Asmodeus was waiting for me with a smile on its face. An arm and a leg of its incarnation body were cut off and missing, its chest area had been crushed as well, and it was truly hanging precariously on its last breaths. To think that Michael possessed the authority of corrupted, you knew that from the beginning, didn't you? Asmodeus formed an expression of someone who had realized everything now. And you're going to take away my necklace? Correct. Asmodeus's overturned, modifier necklace, gleamed brightly. If I took a hold of all the words on that necklace, the Demon King should be kicked out of the ongoing Great War of Saints and Demons. In that case, you should hurry up. Asmodeus's incarnation body belonged to a girl of around 16 years of age. Even if this body died, Asmodeus's real self wouldn't die. However, that body would die for real. And she, was the daughter of manager Han Myung-oh. Han Myung-oh. I won't kill you. Instead, let's make a trade. Trade? You want to trade after coming this far? Kindly hand over a myth-grade fable to me. Then, I won't eliminate you from this scenario. Asmodeus broke out into a loud peal of laughter before vomiting out a mouthful of blood. Now that is a rather amusing notion. Are you threatening me right now? I am. For a brief moment there, palpable tension flowed between the Demon King and I. Asmodeus glared at me, but the light in its eyes seemed to contain this faint trace of resignation. You have become a true Demon King now, haven't you? No one in the 72 seats would be able to deny that you're a true Demon King. Thanks for the compliment. However, there is a problem with your offer. Your target is me, so with what method will you not kick me out? If you don't lose all of your words, you don't get eliminated from the scenario. I'll leave you with one word remaining. The word I was planning to leave behind was of, which was something I already had as a spare. Asmodeus spoke back. I'm so thankful that I might cry now. I extended my hand towards its modifier necklace. Syllables began flowing out one by one from the item next. Modifier syllable, Lu has been acquired. Modifier syllable, ST has been acquired. Modifier syllable, and has been acquired. Modifier syllable, Ra has been acquired. When around half of the syllables came my way, Asmodeus spoke up while glancing at my own modifier. No, more specifically, it must have been looking at the tie-in of my modifier. Now that I take a look from up close, your modifier truly is a tempting one. I quickly hid the modifier necklace under my clothes and replied. Don't try to kill Michael, and just try to steal one word from him. If it's you, it should be more than doable, right? Just one word, is it? Are you perchance speaking of this one? It was at that moment that a certain necklace held in its still fine hand caught my eyes. Hunter of Grudges. Its target necklace, with all of the words completed, began emitting a bright glow. Demon King, Devil of Lust and Wrath, has attained the scenario clear condition. Transmission to the next scenario has begun. I reflexively took a look at my own necklace of modifier. It still said, Demon King of Salvation. Meaning, that Gru didn't come from mine. I knew that this was a trap the moment Michael became corrupted. No way, during such a short window? The transmission to the next scenario began and Asmodeus's incarnation body slowly dispersed before my eyes. Did you really think that I wouldn't have made contingency plans for a situation like this one? From the onset, Asmodeus fought Michael for the express purpose of acquiring the syllable, Gru, nothing more. I belatedly reached out towards the Demon King, but things were already beyond my ability to interfere now. I pray you good fortune, Demon King of Salvation. Because, you two also need to collect just one more word from now on. Accompanied by a brilliant flash of light, Asmodeus's body disappeared from the spot. And the only things I had with me were those modifier words that it left behind. Dove Lust and Wrath. God d***mn, why did it have to be, Vil? I underestimated Asmodeus, didn't I? I turned my head around to find Anna Croft glaring daggers at me. What about the promise with Shu? I reflexively placed my finger on my lips. Something felt off. Up until only a few seconds ago, the whole forest was awash with the chaotic screaming, but it was just 2D***mn quiet now. As if all life forms had been killed off within the area. Just as all the leaves and blades of grass in our surroundings stood up, so did the hair on my skin. I almost instinctively shouted out. Activate, precognition, now. Her eye of the great demon glowed in a bright crimson color. Then, Anna Croft grabbed me and broke into a desperate sprint. After dashing over 100 meters in an instant, she took a quick look behind her. I, too, was staring at the same spectacle as her. Kuaya. The spot we were in only a moment ago was now being enveloped in a gigantic explosion. A purple-colored half-dome reminiscent of a barrier collapsed in on itself in the blink of an eye and destroyed everything trapped within. That was the judgment field, the ability to destroy everything that could only be earned through corruption. Anna Croft spoke in a despairing voice. There's too much noise, and I can't see the future. No need to see everything. You just need to read Michael's attack patterns. You still wish to fight him? If we use that let's become Pebble's fable or some such, we can surely escape from. Didn't you see that guy attacking even the stones on the ground just now? The archangel hellbent on killing me was walking out of the crater where purple-colored smoke was rising up. Michael's fable, now triggered by the fruit of good and evil, was controlling his entire being. The corrupted archangel had already lost half of his reasoning. Demon King, of Sal, Bataillon. His powerful voice roused up all the goosebumps on my skin just by hearing it from afar. Yup, he's definitely not sane at the moment. D***MNit, this is all your fault. Let's go with Plan B. Plan B? You haven't even told me about that yet. I'm trying to come up with it. I couldn't finish my sentence. Raging storm winds crashing in blew Anna Croft away to a distance, that's why. Right after that, I saw Michael's large, hulking frame rush towards me in a frightening turn of speed. Demon King transformation has been activated. Along with cracking noises, my body began changing. A pair of jet black wings and the horns of a Demon King rose up from my back and my head. Thanks to the probability of the second generation, my own status had been strengthened further, as well. Of course, it'd still be a dog's death trying to fight him with only this much status, though. Attribute, Scenario Interpreter, has been activated. However, it wasn't me who would be facing off against this guy. Great Fable, Demon World Spring, has begun its storytelling. Great Fable, Torch that Swallowed the Myth, has begun its storytelling. Indeed, it would be the fables that I had earned so far. KWA boom. The Demon World Spring loaded up on my left hand collided with Michael's own left fist. Almost at the same time, the holy flames of the torch burning on, unbreakable faith, aimed for the corrupted archangel's body. Great Fable, Torch that Swallowed the Myth, is crying out in enjoyment. Michael was instantly shocked by what happened and quickly retreated while contorting his body. The power of the Great Fables was truly amazing. To think, they were able to face off against that frightening monster, even if he had been restricted currently by the shackles of the probability of the second generation. Indeed, it was not a waste of time to train under Yu Hosong earlier. Fable, Evil that Destroys Evil, has begun its storytelling. Great Fable, Eden's Demon, has begun its storytelling. Unfortunately, I wasn't the only one who possessed a powerful fable. Kugagugugu dash. The incredible pressure emitted with Michael as its center caused all my fables to gasp out in pain. My status was not quite enough to fight face to face with this archangel, as it turned out. Great Fable, Torch that Swallowed the Myth, is roaring out in vexation. Sorry about that. If only I was a little stronger, you wouldn't have to hold yourself back like this. Soon afterwards, a fearsome strike flew in and I received an incredible, stomach-churning impact. Great Fable, Torch that Swallowed the Myth, is protecting you. Great Fable, Demon World Spring, is protecting you. Fable, King of a Kingless World, is protecting you. Fable, the one who opposes miracles, is protecting you. My fables were dealing with the archangel's attacks in my stead. For a brief moment there, several thoughts brushed past my brain. What if I used Hell of Eternity? What if I activated Lightning Transformation and Way of the Wind simultaneously? Awaken bookmarks and call upon other characters? No matter what I thought of, I just couldn't see a clear way out of this. So, did that mean I only have that method left? But, I so wanted to avoid ending up in that pathetic state again. Michael took large strides to come closer as I vomited out a bucket full of blood and backed away. He must have decided to end this right now, as purple-colored aura was oozing out from one of his hands. Soon, a purple-colored half-dome was generated within my surroundings. There it was, the stigma that couldn't be cancelled once activated, the judge that punishes all evil, judgment field, was spreading out around me. It looked as if my punishment would be in the form of compression to death. Michael. However, did he know this small fact? That I'd been waiting for him to activate that stigma of his? No, hang on. Corrupted angel Lucifer. Demon King, King of Corrupted Angels, hates that name. Originally, Lucifer was one of the main players that was supposed to lead the great war of saints and demons to its conclusion. No evil in this world can defeat the King of Corrupted Angels. This evil grew even stronger when confronting other evil. And eventually, this monster would swallow up all evil out there. Heck, even a high-ranking demon king within the top 10 positions wouldn't be able to kill this guy. Because he'd become the strongest existence in this world while fighting against evil, you see. However, what would happen if his opponent was not evil? All incredible power had a corresponding price to pay. While looking at the judgment field that was only around 10 or so meters away from me, I reached into my inner pocket. What I pulled out was a single apple, the star relic fruit that I received from the scribe of heaven just before Gigantomachia went underway. Hey, don't you miss the taste of this thing? Michael's eyes began to quake rather noticeably now. He should be able to recognize this apple, because he too had consumed this fruit once before. When an angel eats a fruit of good and evil, it'd go through demon king transformation. But if a demon king eats this fruit, what will happen? I could see the flustered Michael hurriedly extend his hand out. Sorry, but it's too late now. Just before the judgment field crushed my body. Issuing the crunch noise, I took a bite out of the fruit of good and evil. Chapter 367. Archangel Hunting. Part 3. This was a part of an ancient memory. Scribe, for how long am I supposed to repeat this war? A war that doesn't have any victors. The times when he threw that question out, or how many times he asked it, he couldn't recall them. Michael, there's no need to ponder too deeply about this. The Metatron of his memories would always return the exact same smile. For several hundreds of years, or maybe even for thousands of years. Metatron continued to carry that grin from the far side of time that Michael couldn't even remember anymore. Please, focus on hating the evil in front of your eyes, instead. That is your scenario. My scenario. Just how long have I been hunting down the demons? Michael, for a long time now, could no longer remember his birth. The power of fruit of good and evil is going berserk. His memories were always incorrect, incomplete. All he could remember were the final words of the demon kings dying at his hands. How lamentable, oh, the pitiful disciple of Eden. Do you really need to go this far? That was from the master of the 21st demon world. Wawahahahat. You are now the same as us. Finally, Metatron has gone mad. And that was from the master of the 9th demon world. Which number Michael are you? And finally, from the lips of the master of the 4th demon world. Past the faces of the demon kings with names he'd forgotten, he could see the dead archangels, his comrades, that fought alongside him. Michael, you must regain yourself. Please. This is wrong. An angel and a demon, that's what he was. Faces breaking down like debris scattered away in tens of thousands of puzzle pieces, before gathering back together to create one giant form. Good and evil, in conflict against each other for eternity itself. And Metatron's face, the one who had managed to endure all those years, continued to carry the exact same smile for thousands of years. You need to be careful about one thing. When using this power, you must never. The power of fruit of good and evil is going berserk. All of his memories were swept away in one go. Michael was enveloped in horrifying pain akin to his head being ripped to tiny shreds. Aawa dash. All good in the world cried out in sorrow. From the blades of grass to trees, from small insects to every type of good living in creation fell into a state of sorrow and cried out in grief. You have directed a fatal attack at an opponent on the side of absolute good. Fable, evil that destroys evil, is roaring out in bitter sadness. You have broken the taboo. You have been handed a terrible penalty. A gray-colored angel covered in blood was smiling at Michael. The moment I bit into the fruit of good and evil, the view of the world changed. You have consumed a forbidden star relic fruit. You are currently a demon king. The power of fruit of good and evil has whispered the secret of the absolute good to you. As the ginormous storm of magical energy raged around me, my ears were inundated by the continuous stream of messages. You have experienced all facets of good and evil. You have achieved an impossible accomplishment. You have acquired the possibility of a brand new fable. Starstream is stunned by your accomplishment. Starstream is pondering what your second modifier should be. I felt the sensations of being a constellation, the one I couldn't feel for a long time after becoming a Demon King, once more. Demon King transformation has been cancelled. Starstream has completely restored your constellation. I saw a beautifully sparkling star high up within the pitch-black sky above. That was my star. Angel transformation is activating. My body began to glow brightly after receiving the starlight. The feathered wings dyed in black morphed into pure white ones, and the demon's horns growing on top of my head withered away. Warm, pure energy filled up the entirety of my incarnation body. Unfortunately, I wasn't permitted enough time to relaxedly enjoy the status of an angel. The judgment field had shrunk down around me and had begun crushing my body. Quadadududuck. My new wings were crushed and folded as I felt this horrifying pain. My arms and legs, that couldn't endure against the pressure of the compacting space, got crushed helplessly. Great Fable, torch that swallowed the myth, is protecting you. Great Fable, Demon World Spring, is protecting you. I was able to barely hold on against that enormous pressure, powerful enough to almost crush me in an instant, with the aid of my great fables. The fourth wall is protecting your mental state. Probability of second generation is weakening the ability of the fourth wall. It felt like several bolts of lightning were going off in my head. I thought that I'd black out at any given moment, and my vision darkened before reverting back a few times, too. However, I endured. I simply had to. So that I could grasp that one and only chance soon to be coming my way. As the price for being strong against evil, the king of corrupted angels possesses one weakness. The power of the judgment field, crushing and wringing my body, was gradually weakening. The only weakness of this frightening monster capable of destroying all absolute evil was the king of corrupted angels cannot attack an opponent leaning towards the good spectrum. If he broke this rule and attacked good, then crack. The absolute stigma, judgment field, capable of crushing a demon king to death, began splintering into pieces. Like a moth escaping from its cocoon, I destroyed this barrier and spread out my wings. Michael squatted down on the ground and grasped his head with both of his hands while screaming at the top of his lungs. Demon King, king of corrupted angels, is writhing in great pain. This was my only chance. Anna Croft. As soon as my words resounded out in this forest, a blonde woman ran towards the rear of Michael. Her eye was now dyed in that crimson hue. She had seen something through precognition and was now in full sprint while unleashing all of her status. Meanwhile, I gathered my remaining strength into my two legs and dashed forward as if I was falling over. Now, normally, killing Michael with only this much combined firepower was impossible, even if he had been rendered defenseless like right now. However, the story would be different while we were on this island. Character, Anna Croft, has activated Physical Sword Aura LV.9. As if we had a prior agreement, she unleashed several strands of powerful energy from the tip of her short sword, like clockwork. I unsheathed Unbreakable Faith with my tattered right arm. Fragment of a Fable, right arm of a pitiful sword master, has activated. I had no clue that a fable acquired through the special attribute of Lamarck's giraffe once upon a time would come in handy like this. Lamarck's Kirin, Lamarck's giraffe. Till this is a real thing. Probability of second generation has reinforced your aptitude. The explosive magical energy of purest sword force extended by over 10 plus meters from the tip of unbreakable faith. TL, white pure star energy, purest sword force. I managed to barely hold the sword level as it sunk about halfway into the left side of Michael's neck. Almost at the same time, Anna Croft's short sword sliced into the right of his neck. A fountain of blood shot up into the air and Michael's severed head flew up. You have killed the 176th incarnation body of King of the Corrupted Angels. You have acquired a myth-grade fable. Starstream is stunned by your accomplishment. You have brought the fake revelation to reality. You have achieved an unbelievable accomplishment. You have acquired an ungradable fable. You have acquired the fable, architect of revelation. As the stream of messages cascaded down, my barely maintained consciousness finally let go and scattered away. When I reopened my eyes, I found myself all alone within a white space. A single sentence was floating up in the empty air. The being who consumed the fruit of good and evil will face the truth he had been avoiding. Where am I? Before I had a chance to ask that, images suddenly popped up on the left-hand side wall. Those were scenes from Ways of Survival. It depicted Yu Jung-hyuk and his companions clearing out various scenarios. That was the world of Ways of Survival where I didn't exist. The companions who didn't buckle under all sorts of hardships and continued to defeat their enemies existed there. Fruit of good and evil speaks to you. That story was your life, wasn't it? I nodded my head. Indeed, that story was my life. I grew up while reading those events. Fruit of good and evil speaks to you. However, this is also definitely your life, too. The right-hand side wall rippled and a new screen appeared there. It now showed a boy, around 15 years old. He was looking at a computer monitor while inputting something with the keyboard. What will happen to Jung-hyuk next? Is he going to die again? This was back when Yu Jung-hyuk was going through his 164th turn. I was in the 3rd year of middle school, and in love with Ji-hye back then. And I was busy typing a comment. Arg. Really? I'd like to stop chomping on the sweet potatoes now, please. And then, when Yu Jung-hyuk was going through his 488th turn. I was in the 2nd year of high school, around the same age as Kim Nam-woon. Again, I was typing a comment within the screen. As Yu Jung-hyuk went through more and more regressions, I too grew older and older. While reading about his deaths, my beard began sprouting. I graduated from high school while spectating on his sacrifices. And again, as I read his story. Wouldn't it be fine for him to just die during this turn, instead? Wait, did I ever write a comment like that before? The story is going down the drain, so maybe it's time to go back. Now, it was Yu Jung-hyuk's 662th turn. I was a university student by then, still typing away on a keyboard. Jung-hyuk is going to die again, yes? The words I committed to record were in full display here. All those words that I spat out under the excuse of being hurt by life and exhausted by living itself, they were coming back inside my brain. Please, can you skip the earlier scenarios? It's getting repetitive. I couldn't say anything, not anymore. Fruit of good and evil speaks to you. That is the total worth of the story you told as if it was your entire life. The tips of my fingers began trembling. On the left wall, Yu Jung-hyuk and his battles, and on the right wall, there was me, staring at Yu Jung-hyuk. And right in the middle wall, the scenes of me glaring at the stars in the sky played out. Enjoy the show while you can. The fee for your entertainment shall become your lives in the end. Fruit of good and evil speaks to you. Do you really have the qualification to tell? My own words continued to float up above the screen. Yu Jung-hyuk, I know the future you don't know. Hey, Jung-hyuk, we can save this world. You know this, right? I'll finish your story in your stead. My voice, sounding so brazen and with not a speck of hesitation in it. Fruit of good and evil speaks to you. You, who have deceived the entire world by relying on the story only you know, and lived until now. Do you possess the right to be saved? From some place deep in my chest, I thought I heard something break. The whole world seemed to be shaking in my eyes. The fourth wall is glaring at the fruit of good and evil. Fruit of good and evil is startled and is shrinking back. Tch. A storm of probability swept up my surroundings. As I stumbled and faltered about, someone's voice cried out to me. Dokja SSI. You need to move, now. Michael is still. After I opened my eyes again, I found myself leaning against a cavern wall. I was going to abandon you if you didn't wake up in the next minute or so. A blonde woman was looking down at me. Bandages were tightly wrapped around my belly and chest areas, and there were some crushed herbs applied to my thigh that had suffered a penetration wound. Warm liquid then flowed into my mouth. It tasted bitter, acrid. I quickly regained my wits, and after discovering the identity of the liquid, nearly got scared out of them again. Because Anna Croft had cut her palm open to feed me her own blood. What the hell are you? She used her other hand to calm me down and explained herself without a hint of fluster. I possess the attribute, Elixir Maker. My blood possesses the same medicinal effects as all the elixirs I've consumed so far. But, drinking a lot of this blood will place me under your control. That happens only when your status is lower than mine. She stemmed the blood flow from her palm and turned her head away. It was nighttime already. I couldn't sense any presence or movements. I sucked in several slow but deep breaths and asked her. What happened to Michael? He's dead. No, I'm not sure whether to call him dead or not. By any chance, did his incarnation body get enshrouded in a blackish fog? How did you know that? I wish I could explain to her, but this crippling pain assaulting my head prevented me from easily recalling the contents of Ways of Survival. I was pretty sure that Michael wasn't dead. To be more specific, he did die, but would revive again. There were 2 moons up in the sky outside the cavern, the symbol of fables from the second generation. I must have drank a fair amount of her blood, because under the pale blue light, Anna Croft's complexion was just as pale and wan. Why didn't you abandon me and leave? I thought that, by saving you, I'd earn a fable like, prophet who pays her debt, or some such. She probably knew very well that such a fable wouldn't get created so easily. Suddenly, I was overcome with this sense of rejection to this whole idea in my head. The Anna Croft I knew was not like this. The woman I knew was definitely a cold-blooded type of a person who, for the sake of her cause, would not hesitate to sacrifice even her most precious comrade. That was supposed to be the case, but you should be able to move again in a few hours. However, was the information I know of her everything there was to know about Anna Croft? Anna Croft is an incarnation of absolute good. I couldn't be sure why I was thinking up such things. Maybe, it was possible that I began thinking about lots more things after consuming the fruit of good and evil. I spoke as if I was sighing. We should part ways around here. You must have collected all the words necessary for your modifier target, after all. It doesn't matter to me, but will you be fine? Not sure who should be worried about who here. Even if you don't look after me, let me assure you, I won't die. These injuries weren't severe enough to kill me. No, if you were left alone, you would have been dead. Not could have died, but dead, straight up. And I knew the precise moments when Anna Croft would say something like that. But, you shouldn't have been able to see my future? Until recently, yes, I couldn't. Exclusive skill, lie detection LV.7, has activated. You have confirmed that the applicable assertion is the truth. Starting from yesterday onwards, I could see little bits of your future. Some things past an indistinct, faint wall. She could see my future? What did you see? It'll be better if you don't know. Just say it. Anna Croft's Eye of the Great Demon again emitted a crimson light. She then spat out a soft sigh before slowly opening her lips. 12 hours from now, you will die at the hands of the conquering king, Yu Jung-hyuk. Chapter 368. Archangel Hunting. Part 4. You are a first-turn regressor. The first time he chose to go back, he thought that he was given a great opportunity, an opportunity to survive the scenarios by possessing more information than everyone else. You are a second-turn regressor. When he chose to go back for the second time, he began thinking that this life wouldn't be as easy as he thought. And, after witnessing his comrades die over and over again, after losing the person he loved so much, he finally realized that he was destined to experience the same pain many more times in the future. As the price for possessing more information than anyone else, he had to lose his precious comrades many more times. You are a third-turn regressor. During his third try, he thought that maybe this was a curse. Just how many more lives like this one am I supposed to go through? He realized that, if he were to get to the end of all the scenarios, he needed to kill off his emotions, that he must not live his life. And so, he decided to become not Yu Jung-hyuk, but the regressor, instead. The fourth time, fifth. The timelines that he might have had experienced, but a certain someone's unexpected words stopped him from regressing again. Being able to regress at any time is the same as having no meaning in dying anymore. However, there being no meaning in dying is the same thing as the value of living disappearing, too. Yu Jung-hyuk, you need to wake up. What I'm saying here is that, don't mistakenly believe that things will get better by repeating them over and over again. That was why Yu Jung-hyuk chose not to regress. He gave up on several new lives, where he could have started off from a higher vantage point while possessing more useful information than before. You have entered the middle island number 3. Along with the blinding rays of light, he finally arrived on the middle island number 3. Participants who had arrived alongside him looked around and murmured to themselves. What is this place? Weren't we supposed to head straight to the main island? Yu Jung-hyuk simply unsheathed his sword. Hidden scenario, snatching modifiers has begun. And then, the slaughter began in earnest. The rampaging storm of crimson-colored sword light sliced the heads of the constellations off. There was not one shred of hesitation in Yu Jung-hyuk's blade. He carved out the hearts of the incarnations and smashed apart the backs of the escaping constellations' heads. You have acquired a syllable from the modifier of constellation, crow of the gloomy sea at night. You have acquired a syllable from the modifier of constellation, beachfront tactician. There were a few supposedly tough enemies here, enemies that would have been difficult to fight against were he in the original third turn of regression. However, Yu Jung-hyuk was able to defeat them rather easily. The weakness of birch tree scorpion is located below its tail. You must attack the sovereign of the crescent moon repeatedly until the starlight on his head fades away. The Yu Jung-hyuk of the original storyline wouldn't have known that information. Indeed, he'd only get his hands on them after going through the 4th, 5th, 100th, even 1000th regressions. You have acquired a syllable from the modifier of constellation, birch tree scorpion. You have acquired a syllable from the modifier of constellation, sovereign of the crescent moon. The Yu Jung-hyuk of the third turn knew all those information of the future he hadn't yet lived already. Han Suyang, records of the 1863rd turn, first. Han Suyang, records of the 1863rd turn, last. It was all thanks to the records from the 1863rd turn in the distant future that he might have gotten to experience if he lived as the story originally intended for him. Fu. Less than an hour later, Yu Jung-hyuk's surrounding vicinity had become deathly still. Stop. He ended the life of the last remaining constellation and continued to move on. It wasn't just to quickly end this scenario, though. After walking for a bit, he came across a battlefield soaked in blood. Fertile forest. He was greeted by the countless corpses of the incarnation bodies. This spectacle of slaughter seemed to be the handiwork of a certain someone. While gathering the necessary modifier syllables, Yu Jung-hyuk chased after the direction of the slaughterer. It didn't take him too long to discover a giant cocoon seemingly painted entirely in a black hue. He knew right away what this thing was. A monster created by Eden, is it? It was none other than Michael's cocoon. It only appeared after the Archangel was killed off by someone while he was in the middle of Demon King transformation. Fairly soon, he'd gain a new life and emerge from this shell. Just like how, after death, Yu Jung-hyuk would get to start his next turn. If there was one difference, then it'd be with Michael losing a portion of his memories whenever he came back to life. The so-called evil, created to eliminate evil. The existence of Michael was the reason why Yu Jung-hyuk could never be friendly with Eden. As the drizzling rain pelted down, Yu Jung-hyuk searched the vicinity of the cocoon. Michael ended up in this state because someone managed to defeat him. Not too long afterwards, Yu Jung-hyuk discovered the fragments of fables belonging to a rather powerful demon king. Someone did fight Michael here and was gravely injured, it seemed. The traces of these fables glowed in brilliant white rays even within the faint, blurry fog of rainwater. They belonged to a being Yu Jung-hyuk was quite familiar with. Shudder. That was around when Michael's cocoon began to quake noticeably. It emitted this gloomy, damp aura as its top began opening up. Yu Jung-hyuk frowned deeply. Already? Dark emotions quickly permeated within the purple-colored fog. Michael's nude figure, reformed into a brand-new incarnation body, slowly revealed itself inside the cocoon. Yu Jung-hyuk got ready to escape from here. Demon King of Sal, Va, Tian. Indeed, he'd have left this place were it not for those words. Yu Jung-hyuk hesitated for a little bit before approaching the half-open cocoon. Michael, still not fully alive yet, lay in a defenseless sleep inside the shell. Flash. Michael's eyelids moved and shot wide open, and just as they did, so did Yu Jung-hyuk's blade. You sleeping for a little while longer will be better for everyone. Stop. His version of purest sword force penetrated straight into Michael's heart. The still weak incarnation body that hadn't activated either the Demon King transformation or Angel transformation began to crumble away from the probability of second generation. Gua dash. You have killed the 177th incarnation body of King of the Corrupted Angels. Michael's cocoon rapidly shrunk down in size and reverted back to its original status. He'd be reborn in the 178th incarnation body, then. Nebula, Eden, is displaying animosity towards your actions. Constellation, Scribe of Heaven, is glaring at you. Yu Jung-hyuk faced off against the gaze falling from the sky and spoke. I've told you this before, haven't I? I shall be the one to kill Kim Dokja. Stop your unnecessary actions. The sky didn't say anything else in return. Yu Jung-hyuk sheathed his sword and his steps hurried after the trail of fragments scattered around the forest. After he disappeared into the forest's path, a small shadow revealed itself next to Michael's cocoon. Bob-cut hair gently shook around below the black raincoat's hoodie. The master of the shadow grinned brightly after discovering all the items discarded in the vicinity. Yup, a bust of the main character is the best one out there. Han Soo-young hurriedly shoved the items inside her pocket while giggling happily to herself. In any case, that regressor guy just doesn't understand the value of items. Constellation, Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, is wordlessly staring at the fragments of the fables scattered on the ground. What are you looking at? Han Soo-young picked up the fragments the Black Flame Dragon was pointing at. And then, her expression hardened in an instant. You have acquired the fragment of fable, King of a Kingless World. Isn't this? Starstream was blessed with countless types of fables, but she knew of only one person that possessed a fable with such a name. She abandoned the items she'd been picking up and quickly ran in the direction where Yu Jung-hyuk had disappeared to. I'd die at Yu Jung-hyuk's hands. Dokja SSI. 3 hours from now, Yu Jung-hyuk would kill me. Dokja SSI. I quickly raised my head and made my reply. Yes, you sang SSI. How long will you stay dazed like this? It's not like you, Dokja SSI. I'm not dazed. I'm actually thinking about some things. Such as? On how to convince him. Honestly, I didn't feel confident about doing that. The Yu Jung-hyuk showing up here to kill me wasn't the same Yu Jung-hyuk from the Ways of Survival that I read for over 10 plus years of my life. The one coming to see me now was the Yu Jung-hyuk who realized that he was just a character of a story, just like Yu Jung-hyuk from the 1863rd turn. Is it because of your guilt? Sometimes, it felt as if Yu Sang-ah could openly read my mind. And right now, she might have really done that, too. No, it isn't. It's something that I must do. The power of fruit of good and evil is worsening your guilty conscience. It was possible that this feeling had been forcibly triggered by the fruit of good and evil. Meaning, it might not be mine at all. However, I still believed that this was the path I must take. Anna Croft, supporting me during our journey, addressed me. We should arrive at the center of the island soon. I nodded my head as a reply. The center of the island, the location of the portal to transfer you to the next scenario, plus where I'd meet Yu Jung-hyuk in 3 hours' time. I don't wish to interfere with the future you have chosen yourself, but the outcome of my precognition doesn't change all that easily. Are you trying to jinx me? I'm just trying to be honest with you. If you don't wish to die, it'll be better for you to locate the Syllableville soon and get to the next scenario. I'm deliberately choosing not to go. There is a story that I must tell that guy. The story that I'd been delaying all along, something that I definitely had to discuss with him. A story, is it? Does the conquering king really know how to listen to stories? If he doesn't, then I'd better make him. Anna Croft remained silent for a little while. She must have been thinking of something, as her eyes were looking up at the blackish-blue night sky above. Several constellations were looking down at us from up there. I'm sure that you know this already, but well, you can't convince every single person. She was a prophet. She probably experienced a similar situation as mine many times before. After all, she reached this place by lying to Selena Kim and deceiving Iris, didn't she? I think that we should say such things only after we try everything in our power first. A person must bear the burden as weighty as the future she sees, you know. The center of the island could be seen in the distance now. And the giant portal leading to the next scenario was there. Anna Croft withdrew her supporting hands from me and spoke. Well then, this is as far as we go. She had gathered all the modifier syllables, and was qualified to step through that doorway now. Soon, she would continue to stride forward towards the destination she sought after. Just as I turned around away from her, she called out to me. Kim Dokja. Not as the constellation Demon King of Salvation, but as Kim Dokja. She was calling out to me. My aim is to change the master of this star stream. Right away, I was beset with this uncomfortable feeling. Because I could tell what she was planning to say next. What is your goal, then? I knew it. Do I really need to answer you? I feel that only after hearing your answer, will I get to finally decide whether to let you live or not. She had placed me on a scale, basically, whether I'd be a help in her pursuit towards her goal or become a hindrance, instead. If she thought that I'd become the latter, then she'd not hesitate to make me disqualified here. I quietly stared deeply into her eyes. Would it be fine to tell her? Tell her what I truly want in this world. Since she was a prophet, would she be able to understand me? Unfortunately, even before I could fully open my mouth, someone else's voice interrupted me. His goal is to see the end of a certain insignificant story. Icy cold rage thickly permeated that voice. And I knew that voice better than anyone.